Family and friends, we gather this morning to pay tribute to Morris Mandel. Of course, probably not one of you in the room knew him as Morris. He was Maish to everyone. I'm Rabbi Eddie Sukal from the Shul. The days of our years are 70, or perhaps by reason of strength 80 years. And yet 1,000 years in God's sight is but a yesterday, once it is past. Teach us to number our days, that we may attain a heart of wisdom. Establish the work of our hands, that it may long endure. Carol, to you, to your children, to the grandchildren, to all the family. You grieve in a darkened world today. And we who have mourned understand that in your silence there is sadness. In your tears there is loneliness. We gather with you today to reach out to you and to the family, to comfort you, to console you, to pay tribute to Maish for a life that was well and richly lived. And we gather not only that we might comfort you, but to call upon God on your behalf and to ask God to be with you, that you might feel God's loving presence. Today is a day of grief and a day of sadness, a day of tears. It is also a day where we reach deep into our souls to also offer gratitude and thanks for the gift of Maish's life. These are conflicting emotions, but it's exactly that paradox that we live today. Grief and gratitude, they go hand in hand. We will forever remember Maish and love him and miss him. And we will forever be grateful for the relationships that you enjoyed with him, for the goodness of his life, for his companionship, and for all those things he did, the gifts of his heart and his mind, all those things he did that brought joy and happiness into your lives, and all those things he did that made you smile and laugh. When we confront death, we naturally ask the eternal questions that we've been asking since the beginning of time. The psalmist wrote, "O God, what are we that you are mindful of us? What are we that you have regard for us? It seems that we are little more than a breath, our days a passing shadow. We come and go like grass. In the morning it shoots up renewed, and yet in the evening it fades and withers. You cause us to return to dust, O God. If only we were wise and understood where we are going. But this we do know. Mark the wholehearted, behold the upright. They shall know true peace." Adonai ro'i lo echsar binot deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yenahaleni nafshi yeshovev. Yancheni v'ma'agalei tzedek lema'an shemo gam ki elech begeit salmavet lo irara ki ata imadi shiftecha umishantecha hema yanachamuni ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neget sogerai dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shafti beveit Adonai le'orech yamim. The words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. God guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. To offer words of tribute to their father, I'd like to call upon Sharon and Aaron, Will and Brenda.
Hi. Let me see if I can read this. Our dad was blessed to live a long life with the love of his life. He was able to enjoy seeing his children and grandchildren grow up to be productive individuals. Sorry. His retirement was earned after years of hard work, and he was able to enjoy his retirement. He scuba dived, he fished, he whitewater rafted, he hiked, he skied, he traveled. He gave us all a sense of adventure, a love for the outdoors, and to embrace new experiences. He loved and was always learning. These are all blessings we did not just see, but he reminded us over and over. He did not just remind us to be grateful for the blessings in our lives, but lived the example of a grateful man.
He gave the charity and did so anonymously. He always told me if you gave the charity to get your name in the paper, you were doing it for the wrong reason. One year at the synagogue, he won the grand prize in a raffle, to which he had donated a large sum of money. The grand prize was several $1,000s, but when they came to award to him, he whispered to them to keep it. Of course, the temple made sure he won every year thereafter for a while. He never boasted about how well he was doing financially, because the measure of his success was more about having integrity. And he walked the walk. Like many parents, he would tell us about the importance of family, but he lived the example of showing us through his life how much he prized, loved, and adored his family. He could be tired from a long day of work, listening to people's problems, or engrossed in a favorite book. But if any of us had a problem, the book came down and he would straighten up in his chair to listen. If I had a problem, if my wife had a problem, we would just call, and he'd be there.
You could have a temper that put the fear of God in you, but you always knew you were loved. He told us every day that he loved us. He wanted us to become something, anything we wanted to be, but not nothing. To not waste our lives was very important. He supported us, and he motivated us, and then he cheered us. He was a phenomenal grandfather. Always patient, kind, full of joy, full of humor. He wanted so much to see his granddaughter graduate college, and the day she graduated, he was there. He was in the front row, and he beamed as bright as if he was the one getting the degree. And it wasn't just his family that he inspired. a lot of people have come up to me and all of us over the years and over the past few days telling us how he inspired them to do this, to that, to become what they were going to be, to go into medicine, which that probably wouldn't make him happy. He forbid us from going into medicine. Many of our childhood friends remembered him as a father figure. No, I'm fine. He walked the walk. And he didn't expect anything from anybody that he didn't expect from himself. And if he thought you were smart or could do better, he would tell you until you believed he was right. And he always was, except in an argument with my mom.
The love that he shared with our mom was a rare love indeed. The kind that inspires poets and painters. It was as strong on his last day as it was on his first. His last kiss to our mother would have made Hugh Hefner blush. It was more passionate than anything from Casablanca or Gone with the Wind. There was a great love story, not just of their life, but of all of our lives. And if you knew them, you would certainly agree. We witnessed this love the last day, as we've witnessed for many years, this great love story. But to see them in his last moments, the last breaths he was taking, were to passionately kiss his wife and tell her and his children how much he loved them. It melted our hearts. We all strive for that kind of love. And rare, it's very rare. Not many lucky to feel that, but to witness that all these years has been a blessing and an honor to all of us. He danced at Sharon's wedding. There was a father-daughter dance, and Sharon has loved this line. I think it means the most to her, but she's unable to say, and I'm sure most of you know this song. Did you ever know that you are my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. I could fly higher than an eagle because you're the wind beneath my wings. Right? And he was the wind beneath all of our wings.
There can be no more fitting tribute than the words of children for a parent, and our tradition teaches that words that come from the heart enter directly into the heart. Maish, as all of you know, was a brilliant and dedicated and hardworking physician, initially an internist, then specialized in cardiology, earned a PhD, and then turned away from research and became a clinician. Throughout his life, whether in personal affairs or professional matters, he was a man of extraordinary moral character. And when he was in the Air Force and involved in some research that he thought was questionable, he put it to a stop. He paid a price for doing so. but he wouldn't participate in something that he didn't think was right or fair or just. He demanded of himself excellence all the time. He demanded that of others. That, in part, is the children's reference to his temper. I commented that I had never seen that. I guess I never did anything to make him mad enough for him to get mad at me. Certainly, though he was revered and loved by the staff at the hospitals that he worked in over the years, primarily Mount Sinai of blessed memory and Hillcrest Hospital, though he was revered and loved by the staff there, they knew that he was demanding, that he could get angry because he did not like incompetence. He did not like if you weren't ready or anticipating or on the job 100% or even better 110 or 120%. It's fair to say that he didn't suffer fools well, and they knew it if they fell into that category. Now, years ago, 56, nearly 57 years ago, though he had known one of the x-ray technicians at the hospital, but they were just acquaintances, not really friends, that changed in the winter of 1959 when Carol and Maish began to date. Carol said two things to me that caught my attention. First is that their first kiss was electric, and they felt a spark, and they knew it right then that they were going to get married and build a life together and create a family. And the second thing was that since they knew that, they didn't wait very long, and they were married in April of 1960. Carol, for your children to speak about your love that you and Maish had, the kind of love it was, the romantic love, the intimate love, the partnership, it's extraordinary. And you modeled for your children and for all who knew you, not through your words but through your deeds, what it meant to be a true partner. That's what our tradition describes a wife to a husband is and a husband to a wife. True partner in every sense. Supporting, encouraging, nudging when necessary. Arguing, that's part of it. I tell all the young wedding couples that I meet with, people continue to get married, hope springs eternal. I tell them all this midrash from Jewish tradition that says when a husband and wife are in sync with one another and unified, their marital bed can be as narrow as a blade of grass and it's plenty wide. And when they are broguous with each other and angry, their bed could be as wide as an entire meadow, and it won't be wide enough. You enjoyed the kind of love and created with Maish the kind of love that let your marital bed be ever so narrow because of the great love and respect that you had for one another. Maish told you, his children, do what you want, be whatever you want to be, just do it well, and love your work. What a wonderful lesson from a father. That the most important thing is to love what you do. And he demanded of himself excellence, and he demanded it of others, as I've said. And whether you were a colleague at the hospital or whether you were a family member, if you didn't meet his expectations, well, let's say there wasn't really a filter that kept him from saying what was on his mind. Maish created a wonderful and amazing life for himself. It wasn't always so. His father died when he was just 9 years old. He was the youngest of 5 children. Life was not easy in those years. You built a wonderful life together, Carol, but you know in the early years, there was no money. There was no nothing. You made do with whatever you had to make do. Maish, in his most difficult years financially as a student, would live on a loaf of bread and a can of sardines for a whole week. And you shared with me and your family the story of when, as a newly married bride, you bought some sardines as a treat. Maish apparently was reminded of his years of hardship and went off, let's say, the deep end. That was the end of sardines. But he worked hard, and he studied, he applied himself. He loved the life of the mind. He was a gifted intellect, sharp, quick. And he managed his life right up until the very end. And he understood what he was facing. And just as he was a role model in life, so he modeled for all of you also what it meant to die with equanimity and with dignity. It is a hard lesson to take in. It is a hard lesson to live. But Maish did so with remarkable character, and the same kind of remarkable character that he lived every day of his life. If you should ever see any of the Mandel children driving around, you'll see them driving at record speed because Maish taught them to drive. Julia, to you, and to Lexi, of course, he was 80. He loved your parents, he loved all his children, but there was a very special kind of love that he had for you as his granddaughter, and for Lexi, who has come along more recently. And one of the things, and your father mentioned it already, one of the things that he wanted to see and to experience, he lived long enough, and that was to see you graduate from Kent State University and receive your degree just 2 weeks ago. Children are our investment in the future, and grandchildren, the dividend, the return on that investment. And Julia, you make your Zadie and your Bubby very, very rich people with the gift of your life and your spirit and your presence. This week we complete the reading of the book of Leviticus in the synagogue cycle of Torah readings. The book of Leviticus is an instruction book. It's a manual for how the priests and more generally how the Jewish people were to live and how they were to conduct themselves. It seems somehow fitting to me that Maish, who taught all of you and those of us here and others how to live, that his life is concluded the same week as we conclude the book of Leviticus. And it ends with the passage that these are the laws. This is the instruction that God gave to Moses on Mount Sinai. Moses had ascended the mountain to receive the law. In the way he lived, Maish climbed that mountain. He taught us all how to live, how to care, how to love, how to treat others, how to care for others. He climbed that mountain. He taught us from his own Mount Sinai. And now our task is to say goodbye. He earned for himself, in the way he lived, what the rabbis call the Keter Shem Tov, the crown of a good name. And his crown survives him. It is bequeathed to all of you, his family, on this day. And every time you reach out and help another person with kindness and generosity, you wear his crown and you pay tribute to his life. And every time you get mad at somebody for being incompetent, you wear his crown and you honor his memory. And every time you share of yourselves and share your love with one another, with family and friends, you carry Mesh's crown of a good name into the future. You honor his memory. You pay tribute to him. Zichrono livracha, the memory of a good and a righteous man, is forever a blessing to all who knew him. Amen. From the 121st Psalm. Esa'ena ele harim me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, the maker of heaven and earth. God will not let our foot give way. Our protector does not slumber. The protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is our guardian and our protection. God guards us from all harm. God guards our soul, our going, and our coming, now and forever. Please rise. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim, Kizohar Harakia, Mazhirim. Et Nishmat Moshe Yaakov Ben Ze'ev Dov Visara Shehalach Le'olamo Began Eden Tehei Menuchato Ana Bal Harachamim Hasti Rehu Beseter Kenafecha Le'olamim Vayitzror Bitzror HaChayim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachalato V'yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Moshe Yaakov ben Ze'ev Dov Visara, for he has now entered eternity. O God of mercy, we pray, may he find refuge in your eternal presence, and may his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance, and let us all say, Amen. Please be seated. We will continue with our burial service at Mount Olive Cemetery. Following our service at the cemetery, the family will observe Shiva at the Mandel residence, 3308 Havel Drive in Beechwood today, and then Shiva will be observed tomorrow through Sunday, of course not on Shabbat afternoon or Shabbat evening. For those who may wish to honor Mesha's memory with a charitable contribution, the family suggests that you direct your kindness either to the Greater Cleveland Fisher House or to the Shul.